Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cringy Movie Collection Podcast. This is Rav, your host, and I got my co-host here, as always.
Hi, I'm Ludo, and my cat likes coccontini.
Okay. I should probably explain what this podcast is. As a kid and a teenager in the 2000s, I bought or otherwise acquired a bunch of DVDs, and this is our review podcast where we watch those movies that I still have in my collection, and my girlfriend gets to berate me for my terrible taste in movies.
And then we burn them.
Potentially, that's what happens. We'll decide that at the end of each episode. Today's movie is Pearl Harbor. It is an Oscar-winning movie by Michael Bay.
It's a very long movie.
Yes, so they somehow found a way to win. By any chance, you know what this movie got an Oscar for?
The music.
It is not the music. It's something to do with music. It is, I think, best sound editing, which, whatever. But it's an Oscar, and it's, technically this movie got an Oscar, so it can't be that bad, right?
But it's very long.
Well, we'll find out.
So the odds are in your favor. If you make a very long movie, maybe you do something Oscar-worthy at some point.
So you just make a 10-hour movie in the hopes that you get an Oscar for something?
Then the Academy that will not see it.
Well, you will get our thoughts on the movie just after the intro music.
First of all, you have to say, how did you acquire this particular DVD case with the content of the DVD?
What a strange way of phrasing it. If this was episode 700, I would understand that you're trying to mix it up a little bit. But this is the second episode of the podcast, and you're already trying to say, how did you get this DVD in more interesting ways?
I'm not trying to mix things up. I'm just trying to say that the physical DVD thingy.
Yeah.
I thought I was saying case instead of thingy.
Yeah.
But then it feels like it's just a case without the disc inside. So then I try to save my sentence.
That was an attempt at saving yourself. I heard about this movie when it came out because the music was written by Hans Zimmer. And that was in the sort of, at the time when Pirates of the Caribbean came out and all these things that, really, I feel like as a generation, we knew him for these things rather than for The Lion King, which was just before this. I knew him
for The Lion King, and I'm younger than you of 1 year.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I feel at the time it was these kind of big action movie soundtracks that I don't know, that was what it was in, that what was cool. And this was just another one of these.
According to Raph.
Yeah.
To me, The Lion King is pretty cool. There is a stampede.
And that's the main thing. No stampedes in this movie, actually.
They suck worms. They seem so tasty.
Wow.
Timon and Pumbaa.
That's what's cool. People eating worms. So I was really into it, and I got the soundtrack without knowing really anything about the movie. And I really liked it, even though it was, a lot of it was just kind of schmaltzy, sort of love story, sweeping strings, kind of it wasn't quite the action movie score that I envisioned. But
the Japanese one is good.
Yeah, the borderline racist, the drum piece.
Yeah, so it's very nice and really makes me feel like a Japanese soldier.
Well, then the goal was accomplished by music.
Thank you, Hans.
Thanks, Hans. So I really didn't watch the movie for a long time. And then when I did, I was in high school. And I kind of had my first experience with ladies, and I was very much into one of them.
Also, just editors, not a big experience.
No, very small experience. In high school, I liked this girl, and she was kind of oh, I like you, but I also like your best friend. And so it was this weird triangle thing. And of course, in this movie, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the whole thing. So like you have to have seen it or not care about being spoiled. In this movie, there is a whole thing about a triangle, like best friends and a girl, and they like the same girl and all that. And so I, as a teenager, thought that this movie was like about me and my experience. And
but he didn't die in combat.
Well, in my mind, maybe like...
It was like that.
Metaphorically, I'd died.
You were so emo.
When you're like a teenager and you have all of these kind of pop culture things that deal with relationships and loss and all of those things, like you feel like at the time also the Green Day song Boulevard of Broken Dream was like big.
Oh, you were walking a lonely road.
And I thought that was about me too. Yeah, I thought everything was about me. You know? That's what teenagers do, no? Did you not have such experiences where like something that was, in hindsight, obviously pandering?
I still think that everything is about me. You should know that.
Yeah, okay.
So now that we know why we're watching this, why we watch this, I'm gonna tell you about the story. And the story is a very long story. It starts with two best friends who dream about being pilot, but one of them also dreams to be a hero pilot. So they are training upstate New York, and Ben Affleck, that wants to be a hero pilot, falls in love with this girl, Evelyn, but he had just volunteered to go to England to fight the war, because all around the world there was World War II, but the US didn't join yet.
They were making fridges. That's a line in the movie.
Yes.
Right there.
So Ben Affleck goes to war and they write each other a letter, and in the meantime everybody else goes to Hawaii to Pearl Harbor to stay there and wait for the war to escalate. They write each other a letter until Ben Affleck doesn't write anymore because his plane crashed in the ocean and is assumed dead. In the meantime, everybody is living their life in Pearl Harbor, like the war is not gonna happen anytime soon. And after some months, Ben Affleck's girlfriend and Ben Affleck's best friend,
his name is Danny, and he's played by Josh Hartnett. You can use either of those names.
They start falling in love with each other and have a very nice Hawaiian romance, and there is a nice montage of it. Until the Japanese were planning a surprise strike all along, and they started bombarding Pearl Harbor, and there is a very, very long scene of shooting of Pearl Harbor in which we see all the mayhem that is going to happen.
I should say, though, we have jumped one little step, which is that Ben Affleck actually, shocker, comes back from the dead.
Yes.
And this happens
the day before Pearl Harbor.
Basically,
Ben Affleck comes back from the dead, and the two best friends are now enemies because they're in love with the same woman. And the woman, like, there is not a lot of thought of the woman that was in love with somebody that then died. And then if she found love again, and then her first love came back, like, she must be feeling very confused. But no, it's only about the two best friends that have to fight for the same woman, because who cares about her feelings?
no time to fight for the woman anyway. You have
Okay.
to fight for America.
The day after this Pearl Harbor attack happens, and everybody is like shocked that they didn't see it coming. And it's so long, and how dare they attack the US and kill all these people? So the US joined the war, of course, in the faction that is against the Japanese and the Nazis. At this point, there is an idea of paying the Japanese back with this mission of bombarding Japan. It's like Tokyo and other like things. That is led by Alec Baldwin, and
Did you say Alex Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin. Sorry, Alec, I'm not butchering your name. I'm just very excited.
Alec is listening.
Of course, everybody's listening.
Okay. Hi, Alex.
Alec. Anyway, so they go, both Ben Affleck and his friend go to train for this mission, and there it's revealed to Ben Affleck that Evelyn is pregnant, but it's not Ben Affleck, it's the other guy, but she tells Ben Affleck for some reason. Anyway, we go.
It's kind of fucked up.
We go and we start the mission, and they start bombarding the Japanese, and then they have to fly to China with their planes, and they have to try to land in China to be saved. But apparently, Alan Baldwin didn't thought that this mission was gonna succeed. So
Did you say Adam Baldwin?
It's Alec.
You say a lot of weird, like...
Alec Baldwin didn't thought that it was going to succeed with this mission. It was kind of a suicide mission because they thought that it's impossible that we will find China. So somehow they land in China, but what happens? There are Japanese soldiers waiting for them in China. So they start shooting at them, and the guy that is not Ben Affleck dies.
Oh.
So everybody comes home, and it's like everybody alive and a corpse. And the movie ends with Ben Affleck and Evelyn raising the child.
So you said Evelyn?
Evelyn raising the child that was not Ben Affleck's because he's ugly.
But it was Josh Hartnett's kid, so...
Yeah, but the kid is ugly.
You would expect it to be cute. So it was probably a third person's kid.
People that did the casting for Pearl Harbor, you choose a very ugly kid.
So that's the story of this movie.
Yes.
That's the plot. Very well summarized, considering how fucking crazy long it is. We'll get into some of the details later.
Yes, but this is the second time that I tried to summarize this movie, because the first time I was going into too much detail. But I also said that Jennifer Garden as a pretend cooking show.
Did you say Jennifer Garden?
Jennifer.
Why do you butcher every name?
Jennifer Gardner as a pretend.
There's no Gardner. There's no D in that name.
Really?
Jennifer Garner Affleck.
Yes.
I don't know if she still has the Affleck.
So
now,
Jennifer, I love your pretend cooking show.
She's watching?
Of course.
You don't even know her name.
Everybody's watching. And no, nobody's watching.
Think,
everybody's listening.
Do you think that Alex Baldwin and Jennifer Gardner are sitting together on a couch eating popcorn, listening to the podcast?
Yeah.
Nice.
Now it's time for the ad break.
No, there's no ads.
With Skillshare, you can learn an enormous amount of skills shared by other people just like you, and you pay to see strangers teaching you stuff.
Are they paying us for this?
No, this is why I'm not super sure about what Skillshare does.
Why are you doing this?
Because I already told you the last episode that micromodal is the softest fabric known to man, so now I have to have another ad.
No, but the ads are the things you don't want in your podcast.
I love them.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. I think one thing that I would like to talk about in regards to Pearl Harbor, and I think a lot of people at the time and even later have remarked on this, is this movie is trying really hard to be Titanic. And I feel it's kind of transparent why. I mean, first of all, do you agree? Do you see what I'm talking about here? Do you see why this is kind of...
So there are boats.
There are boats.
There is water.
Yeah. It's a historical
event. It's pretty
event.
cheesy.
Yes, it's a cheesy love story set against a historical event.
So,
yeah.
Kind of. There is no steamy carriage scene, though. But there is a parachute...
banging scene.
Yeah. So
it's on that level.
We can...
It's just obvious that they looked at Titanic and they looked at the surface of it and were like, we should do that. It will make $1 million. Oh, well, I mean, $1 million actually would be very little for this movie. But it's just, I don't know, like it's sad to me because I'm a big fan of Titanic and it's in the collection. So I guess eventually we'll end up talking.
We will know what I think about Titanic.
Yeah. But this is just like they throw so much money at it. They get like really great actors.
All the actors. There is Ben Affleck, there is Jennifer Garner, there is Alec Baldwin, there is Dan Aykroyd, there is everybody.
And I think the action scenes, they look relatively good, especially for a movie made by Michael Bay, who notoriously makes incomprehensible.
The Rock.
Yeah, but that was messy too, and some people would say...
They have balls, so they were glowing.
That was definitely part of the action scenes.
Well, Some action was like, don't drop the bolts, the glow.
Okay, back to Pearl Harbor though. It feels like it's just a bunch of stuff meshed together.
Yeah, because it's 3 hours.
That is definitely an aspect of it. It's like it's 3 movies almost. Or maybe you could make like if we think about, how would you, because Titanic is 3 hours, but I think it works. This is 3 hours of not working.
I can't pay attention to any movie that's longer than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Now The Godfather. If it wasn't kept saying that it was Pearl Harbor, and you see that people are plotting to make the Pearl Harbor bombing, you would think there is Pearl Harbor in the 80s or something like that.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like of a historical epic.
They're modern people.
Yeah. Which is maybe part of it is maybe that's so much just surface level. Like, these characters don't feel real. They're all kind of cutouts, and like some of them are fun. Like I think Alec Baldwin is fun as like
Alec Baldwin is always fun.
Like a gruff kind of bossy military type. Like it works, but it is a cliche. Like it's not clever or anything. And if you have just a bunch of cliches interacting with each other, it's like.
Does he have a dog?
Alec Baldwin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe also in real life. Please write us an email, Alec. You can see all our contacts in the show notes.
Do we have an email then? Is that what you're saying?
If we have show notes, then we have an email.
Okay, well, I doubt that either of those things exist. I think this is a knockoff Titanic, and it feels like that, and it feels because Titanic gets derided as well for many, like how cheesy it is.
It is very cheesy.
And all those things. And I think that's fair, but it has like a lot of care taken into it, which is all missing from this movie.
Also, to be fair, I want to point out to everybody that doesn't know Ralph, he's Swiss. So Swiss people are accustomed to cheesy things.
That's true. I don't mind a cheesy thing.
Even though it makes you fart.
No, but let me give you an example, okay? Like the script is careless as hell, right? So at the beginning of the movie, we learn that Ben Affleck, who's going to his medical exam, he has an eye exam, like a vision exam, and he has to read the little letters in the front, and like that.
Oh yes, that would be so cute if it were done correctly.
That's the thing. So the idea is that Ben Affleck's character, his name is Rafe, I think. He can't see perfectly, but he can't read.
Because he's dyslexic.
He's dyslexic. So he can't really pass the eye exam because he can't read, not because he wouldn't be fit for flying. That's the idea, at least.
Because it confuses the letters, like he doesn't know which letter is where.
Right. And that, in a way, is almost like a romantic idea, because it's like your dream is prohibited to you because of external factors, and it's like, it's a little bit tragic that you are dyslexic. But then even in that scene, there's like incongruencies, right? He has a little piece of paper, a little cliff notes of where he has written down all the numbers that he's supposed to say.
No, he hasn't written it down. His friend has written it down for him, and he hands it to him before he starts.
So he reads them off of his note. Yeah. Immediately there's a contradiction in that scene, right? The movie is telling us he can't pass his test because he can't read, but in order to pass the test anyway, he reads it off a note.
Maybe the movie is trying to tell us that he really can't see, and he's trying to pretend that he's dyslexic.
That's so fucked up, man. Like, if you pay too much attention, like, it all falls apart.
Because otherwise it would, like, if he can't read, how can he write all of these letters to Evelyn?
That's the other thing I was thinking. Is like, if you set this up as the meet cute, so to speak, between Evelyn and Rafe, right? Then later in the movie, they keep writing each other letters, which is kind of contradictory to the backstory of Rafe, which is he can't read. How is he writing? They just wanted the cliche of faraway, distant lovers writing to each other, and so they put that in the movie without thinking about how it actually interconnects with the rest of the fucking movie.
Yeah, because this you have a nice montage that shows like that she has a nice life sheltered in a tropical paradise,
right.
But he's looking at the difficulty of the world in this cold and rainy England in which everybody dies.
That is perfectly fine. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I'm saying it just shows how little they thought about these characters. They just wanted to have that montage there now. It is careless. It is against characters. It is not like you building on something, but instead of doing that, you build something else next to it, rather than having one cohesive experience. And that's what I mean. That's how this movie is not Titanic. Is none of this is coherent.
We will come back on Titanic when I will see it, and I will decide if it's coherent or not.
Right. And I also think that it's a little incoherent in that it crams in the love story and the Pearl Harbor thing and the Doolittle raid tacked on at the end. And all these things are really kind of unconnected, it feels.
Yeah, like they could make it with Pearl Harbor and end it after Pearl Harbor, but they wanted the US to come out victorious, even though everybody knows that they will eventually win. Like, we are leaving it.
So Ludovica is into history.
Kind of, but I don't know a lot about the Pacific.
Right, so I asked her after we watched the movie to just look up a little bit of like how accurate this is. Maybe some of it you already knew anyway. Fill out the picture a little bit for us. So I would like to know, like, how historically accurate is this movie?
So it seems that the big things are kind of accurate, like they're mostly accurate. The inaccuracies are like all the generals and like command people that are referred to by name. They're actual real people, but they're random people. They're not the people that were at Pearl Harbor or stuff.
Wait, so they used names of actual historical military personnel and said they were at Pearl Harbor, even though they weren't?
Yes, kind of.
What for?
Like, the names are kind of random, but they're real names. Except the general with the dog and the cook, because that, like, the cook is real. Like, he's a real historical person that was there.
Yes, and while we were talking about history, one of the things that was bemoaned about the portrayal of that cook, who happens to be an African American, serving on the ship, and being a bit of a heroic figure in that conflict, they kind of completely gloss over the whole racism aspect of like being a black person in the 40s. So it's like one of those things where you show someone who did something important and actually set the sign, as like, like we are Americans too, that kind of thing. But then you completely remove the struggle of it all and why this was so important. And people were offended by that.
It was nice that the cook has a nice, like, kind of friendship with Evelyn. It was the only male friend that he has that didn't try to sleep with her.
That's true.
We don't think that she would probably be tending to him.
Certainly not alone.
Yeah.
They wouldn't just leave the white nurse with the black soldier.
And this is why we know what's his story, because he gets injured and Evelyn treats him and he tells her the things. Again,
from like a narrative perspective, there's nothing really wrong with that. But if you look at it historically, it can be a little offensive because this was an important figure, and him not being allowed the same rights as everyone else is important to who he was.
But I am a very big fan of male and female friendship in movies without ulterior motives, because they are so rare.
I should also point out, though, by the way, this character who we're referring to as the cook, he's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., and I think it speaks volumes that neither of us can remember his name, the name of the actual historical person.
The main thing about the Pearl Harbor attack that seems to not be correct is that apparently there is a big scene in which also one nurse that we know is killed because they were shooting the hospital and the civilian spaces. And apparently these were not hit, at least not in the first raid, where everybody was trying to find, like, they were just targeting the boats, the hangars.
Military targets.
Yes, all the military targets. Yeah. And so that's just a way, because they had to kill somebody that we know.
And maybe also making the Japanese evil.
Yes,
like it sometimes feels that way.
Evil. Yeah, the Japanese are kind of weird because,
just in general.
In this movie,
we knew that you felt that way for all along.
When they do the attack in Pearl Harbor, then there is a Japanese general that comments, "Oh, I thought we awakened the dragon." And this is actually not something that has been said for real, but it's something that has been said in the movie about Pearl Harbor from the 70s.
So this is a reference to another movie, not to history.
Yeah, to what a Japanese general said in the movie.
Do you think Michael Bay or whoever wrote this script knew that this was just a movie quote and not something that was actually said, and they just liked
I think that they were on a tight schedule and
just stole it.
Yeah. No, not stole it, but they were like, oh, that must be a quote.
Oh, they didn't
Let's
research
not
it.
back check it because it fits very well.
Yeah. Because I think it's like, in theory, it's okay to say, you know what, that was a good quote, will you reuse it? But I don't think it's that good a quote. It feels like it makes the Japanese look incompetent because they're like, we're doing this, and then immediately after doing it, oops, we shouldn't have. Like, they didn't think about this, you know?
Yeah. But the Little Mission seems, first of all, it's portrayed in the movie as if it was something super important for the war, where it was like a tiny mission just to tell Japan.
So it's called the Doolittle Raid, right?
Technically bomb you, but it was not like a big deal. Well, it seems like it was the first step for the US to win the war. And the biggest thing ever is that when the plane after the Little Raid landed in China, okay, some of them got captured by Chinese soldiers, but there were no Japanese soldiers, and there were no Japanese soldiers shooting at them. So the Ben Affleck friend couldn't die by the hand of Japanese soldiers as he did.
Which explains why there were Japanese soldiers in the movie. Just so that they could have the drama.
And the next thing is one new idea from Ludo. There's the lightning round.
What is the lightning round?
So, we just say to each other things that we picked in the movie that for time's sake I didn't recollect, I didn't accounted for in the main plot of the movie. So we can share what sparked our enthusiasm.
Okay.
Okay, like horniness.
Lots of horniness. The old dad in Tennessee who has seen the war and is very briefly there and then never heard from again.
Yeah, PTSD a lot. The dogs survive the bombings, so that's good.
Yeah, lots of needles in asses.
Yeah, they really go for it.
Well, yeah, Ben Affleck goes back for a second dose.
Yeah, and he faints because he shouldn't have a second dose.
Yeah.
Then, there are the characters that don't look... Oh, I like the Japanese music that is borderline racist.
Yeah.
Not because it's racist, but because I like this kind of war with
drums.
With drums, yes.
Yeah. I like the blood transfusion through Coca-Cola bottles. Very patriotic. But also...
Oh, yes, who gives blood? Just in general.
I think Josh Hartnett is one of them.
Somebody gives blood, and they do it with the Coca-Cola. Yeah, there is a lot of Americana imagery.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Michael Bay staple as well. It's typical. But I thought it was like, it was ridiculous in a way, but also fitting.
Yeah.
They took whatever there was and they put blood in it.
Yes, and good hairstylist. Then there's just I think I will use the lightning rounds to point out all the animals, and here there are only dogs, and they survive, so they're cute.
So that's the lightning round?
Kind of. What did you hate about this movie, Raf?
Well, I've already kind of talked about it. I hate how careless this movie is. There's so much money and effort put into it in terms of there so many people worked on this, but just on a basic level, they didn't care about it. They didn't care about the history. They didn't care about the story of these characters. I mean, they just didn't care about the characters. And they didn't care about basic narrative principles, like things should lead from point A to point B. I think it's annoying how meh it all is and how poorly conceived it all seems.
Okay.
What about you? What did you absolutely hate about this movie?
The cheese. It's so cheesy.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to watch a war movie, but it's just a romantic drama.
Yeah.
That's not really my style.
It is mostly romance, but then there's half an hour of mega war stuff.
Yes, but it's still super with the cheese overlay, so
yeah.
No.
So, we do have to also say what we love about this movie. So what did you love about this?
The dogs survive.
That's a very good thing. You were very excited every time there was a dog, and I was surprised at how many different dogs there were in this movie.
And they
Everybody
all
seems to have
get
dogs.
like under fire, and none of them gets killed.
And-
Thank you, Michael.
And it was all dogs. There were no cats or like
there are no
parakeets
cats
or something.
in an army base.
I
It's
didn't
not
know.
a place for a cat.
All right, it's for dogs.
Cats are not combat pets.
I love the music of this movie. I think the music on its own almost works better because it's less cringy if it's just genuine, swelling, heartfelt, cutesy music, and then you have the more kind of action-oriented things in between. It's a beautiful soundtrack. I actually like the song as well. Which again seems like, oh, we have to have a Celine Dion-like thing.
Oh yeah,
So-
the end, but it's like a more budget-friendly singer.
Who is the singer?
It's kind of like, it's not Shania
Faith
Twain,
Hill?
but it's
No.
on that. Yes, Faith Hill.
Is it Faith Hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's time to tell you about our forever sponsor. That is MeUndies. That is the softest possible underwear that you can ever dream for your butt.
Are we done?
And it comes with the different colors and fabrics, so you can choose whatever mood you want. And you can also subscribe to get fresh undies
we have
delivered
no
to you.
affiliation with MeUndies.
But I'm wearing them now, and they are soft.
So I guess you're technically affiliated
Yes.
in a business relationship
Yes.
with MeUndies by
But I-
ordering them.
Please, MeUndies, send out some free samples, and we'll give you a code.
This is why you're doing this? This is why you're doing the podcast, to get free underwear?
Only if it's MeUndies. I don't want any other underwear.
I mean, from a marketing perspective, that was a good answer. Because that
I know.
would sound... But on the other hand, you're already advertising for free, so
I
there's no
am
reason.
basically a brand ambassador for MeUndies.
Should we threaten that in episode 12, if we haven't gotten free MeUndies yet, we'll actually say how bad they are?
No, I love MeUndies. I'm not gonna do that to them.
Okay, this is so fucked up. Let's just quickly talk about our overall opinion of the movie. I think shines pretty well through. You don't like how cheesy it is?
I don't like these drama romances.
So you just don't even like the general idea of this, even if this was a well-done version of it.
No,
So you're gonna hate Titanic as well.
probably. I
Okay.
remember not liking it, but I was very, very afraid when everybody was starting to drown, so I didn't pay a lot
spoilers.
of attention. Yes,
a
the
movie called
Titanic
Titanic.
sinks.
I think I don't hate it as much as many people seem to. Like, I think you can watch it, but it's just like there's so many better things you could do with your time.
In 3 hours.
Yeah, like you could watch 2 good movies in that time, like, so it's just not worth your time. But it's also, I'm not as offended as some people are.
Also, this movie came out in 2001,
Mm-hmm.
just before there was the second attack on U.S. soil.
That's
There's,
true.
9/11.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably got a boost at the box office.
Do you think Pearl Harbor benefited from 9/11? I mean, first of all, it
Could.
didn't because this came out before 9/11.
Then
So-
they was like, okay, let's get it back.
No.
Back to the cinemas. We need some
No. I mean, this. So
pro-U.S.
you think? No, I don't think
think
so. That sounds too cynical.
I do think that there's gonna be some movie executive that when 9/11 it was like, ho, let's boost of our sales.
I agree with you. Someone thought that. I know that it came out around like May or something, so
Yeah.
way before 9/11. So probably was out of cinemas long.
Are you sure they came out in May? Because if it came out in December, it was perfect.
So finally, we have the all-important question: if this movie should remain in the collection or if it should be destroyed.
Now the movie shall be destroyed, it shall be burned, and fondue will come out of it.
Because it's so cheesy.
Yes, and also because I saved last movie, so now I need destruction.
Next time on the podcast, you want to reveal what the movie is?
Yes, I'm very scared, and we're gonna watch Robots.
Yes. Animated movie robots from the 2000s, maybe 2005-ish.
I'm kind of scared.
All right. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.